next guest has had the kind of career that most of us only dream of. In fact, he dreamt of it himself for years. Musician, writer, actor, sex symbol, and devoted follower of the Dagenham Girl Pipers. Dudley Moore. Welcome home, anyway.
Thank you, Michael.
Now you've got your official sex symbol certificate. Are you going to stick with this worldly, sophisticated image forever?
Yes, in my next film I'm playing an elf, which of course, you know, really plunges me into the macho image, I think.
That's true.
Yes, I play an elf in Santa Claus. I think it'll be the first and last time I play an elf, but I'm looking forward to it.
Are you one of a large company of elves?
Yes, we've got some very high-class elves, very small people. I think Royal Shakespeare Company, we've got a lot of, very good small people. There aren't many small people around, and we've been tracking the British Isles. Can we go on to the next question? We're not getting into
So you're looking for actors of restricted growth for that?
Yeah, restricted growth. I'm thinking about it. I'll show you a restricted growth board. That was quite unintentional.
Now, like Lulu, you performed as a child, but she had to stand on a chair. What did you have to do?
Well, Michael, funny you should ask me that. My first public performance was behind the chair. I refused to sing unless I had a chair in front of me. I don't quite know. I think it was that familiar feeling of being behind bars or something.
And while you were doing all these things and cringing behind bars, your dream was to be a classical composer.
Well, yeah. I wanted to be a violinist. That was my real ambition, and but I was too anxious to really get to grips with the instrument. Unlike other things, no. In fact, I found a piece of music that I wrote when I was about 12. Actually, it was so silly that I framed it. It was called Anxiety. Had to be there.
Was it a concerto? Or what?
No, it wasn't a concerto. It was a boring piece of music that basically was an ostinato that tapered off after about 17 bars. As most things did in those days. Or rather now, actually, come to think of it.
Did you have an anxious childhood?
Yeah, yes, I was in hospital a lot, and so I did get a little anxious. No, I remember, actually, I was in hospital when I was about 5 or something, and it was very scary because I was the only boy in a soldier's ward. A lot of soldiers were coming back from the war, and it was very scary.
They must have thought you'd had a terrible accident.
Yes, well... 5'2" and about 30 years younger. God, what hit him? Yeah.
When I was talking about the anxiety, I was really thinking about when you were a bit older.
Bit older?
Yes, I mean when you were a youth, a teenager. You had other reasons to be
well,
anxious?
Yes. One was frightfully interested in the opposite thing. And no, I remember being besotted. I remember seeing one of the Dagenham Girl Pipers get on the bus, and it made my year.
Why? What is it about the Dagenham Girl Pipers that you lusted after them?
Well, it's that sort of blowing through this live haggis thing. They sort of fingering the old. Something about that. Something about that. I think that subconsciously exacerbated most things. Come on, Michael. Come on, go on.
No, I just want to see where this is all going to lead us. It's very interesting.
Hopefully up a blind alley.
Did you actually get to play with them in later years?
No, actually. I did a show here once, and they did stroll past at one point, about 12 of them, and it was an invigorating sight.
Yes. You were very proud in the past, as many of us do,
yes,
to have a smutty mind.
Yeah, it's all right for you, Vincent. You've had yours. Yes, I do have a smutty mind. I like to sort of play in the mud. Yes, I think I'm very smutty, indeed. To the point where my own jaw drops open at some of the things I've put on record. But I must say I enjoy it. I think it's a fairly harmless occupation, unlike others which, can be very,
I understand. Do you find, Vincent, with the passing of the years, that the mind goes on to higher things?
A little bit higher. I mean, Dolly Parton's in this week, out next week, hopefully.
This label that I hit you with and saw you cringe when you came on, sex symbol, have you had enough of that?
No. Well, it's better than being called a haddock or something.
I think he has a lot of the quality of Errol Flynn, though.
You say...
You mean drunk out my mind by 9 a.m.?
No. The early Errol Flynn.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
What do you see of Errol Flynn in Dudley?
Oh, it's so obvious.
Actually, Errol Flynn was my hero as a child.
I knew that.
Yeah.
It was obvious. No, he is like Errol Flynn, Chutzpah is what it's called. Real knowing that you're charming.
I've no reply to that, Michael. I think I should have a graceful exit.
Do you accept that you are this sex symbol, or do you try to analyse it yourself and think, why do they think I'm that?
No, I mean, seriously, I just want affection and love from the world, and so that's what I put out. And you get back what you put out,
Now, the rest of us, the dream of the rest of us, not sex symbols, I mean those of us who are not musicians, is to saunter into a crowded room and just stroll up to the piano and knock off a couple of sonatas or something and hope that it would have a great effect socially. Does it, in fact? Have you managed to be socially very successful because of this gift?
Well, I think you take up jazz, this lot wouldn't know, you take up jazz really to show your more visceral emotions to the birds and pretend you're not doing it,
But it takes care of any loneliness.
It doesn't take care of loneliness. I think that it's very overestimated. I'd rather have a bird than a piano.
I was imagining that one would lead to the other. That was the...
Well, it can. Well, yes. No comment there, Michael.
I mean, would it work on you, Lulu? I mean, someone who serenaded you like that, would it have the desired effect?
I think, yes. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm going to be very honest.
Oh, don't
now.
be honest.
Yeah, I think I am.
Not on London Weekend this time.
I think one of my greatest loves is music. And when I first got married, I married a guy who was in a group that I was mad about their music.
Without a piano, have you found things have gone wrong? I mean, relying entirely in the early days on your whatever charm you thought you had then.
Well, I remember taking a girl out once, and I fancy her. And in fact, we were walking along the first day, and I thought she had a broken arm, but it was in fact her rib cage. It's beautiful. I was just about to say, you broke. And we went to this restaurant. We went to this very flash restaurant, and I was really nervous because you know the feeling. Anyway, blood was rushing, and I was looking at this menu, and my French is pretty good, and I thought I'd fancied a pork cutlet, and I'm reading it. Oh yes, Côte de porc vinaigrette. That sounds good. And she ordered something. In fact, I hadn't ordered Côte de porc, which is pork cutlet. I'd ordered tête de porc, which is pig's head. And this little piglet head came and sat down almost all by itself on the plate. And so I'm sort of during this rather romantic conversation, toying with the little hairs in its ears. Not knowing whether I should, try and get in there through the snout. It was a dreadful experience, but it had a happy ending.
So you took her home, played the piano.
Took her home. I asked for the piglet to be doggy wrapped.
Oh, lovely. I should think you, Vincent, find that the food is almost more important than anything else.
At my age, yes. I mean, you can fool around a little bit, but let's eat.
I love that.
You know.
What kind of menu would you prepare if you were wooing a lady? Because you know about these things.
Oh, hot dogs and potatoes. Caviar, definitely caviar. You know, catch a fish, squeeze the eggs out of it, get a little caviar.
Yes, Lulu, what about that? Come from Glasgow and you've earned a lot of money. I mean, do you go for caviar and all that stuff?
I love food. I love any kind of food.
So do I.
There is nothing. I mean, tonight I had a big.
A large raincoat to the rest of you. That shows where she was brought up.
For my tea, and I absolutely loved it.
No, I agree with you.
But I can also get into vegetarian food. I do like my food.
You could have got away with just the pig's tail if you'd taken Lulu out.
Yeah, that's true.
No problems at all. So you've sort of absorbed yourself entirely in the West Coast philosophy now. You do all that keeping fit stuff, and you eat the right things, don't you?
No, not
Isn't
really.
that right?
Not really. No, I eat a lot of junk, and I eat a lot of good stuff. Now and again, if I want to keep a bit of weight off, I'll eat dinner at breakfast. You know, I'll eat a trout and some vegetables and all that, and put it in a little sauce which I make up.
Someone did a survey into these fast food places and said that everything they sold was nourishing, but there was not a single item they sold for which you require teeth.
You're probably right. I always take mine out before I eat.
Talking of pigs, I've heard you're a bit of a piglet. I mean, you are capable of eating rather a lot.
Yes, I do. I am. I like packing it away, you know. Food. We're talking about food.
Yes, I know.
I remember once I was in New York. I was doing some publicity for a film, and I was staying at the Plaza Hotel, and I could not decide. There was prime rib and veal cutlet and spinach and broccoli. So I wanted everything. So I ordered for 2 people. I was on my own in this room, and the room service waiter came in with this gigantic table, and so I went to the bathroom door, which I'd previously closed, and I knocked on it and said, "Dinner's up, darling." There's nobody in there, but I had a wonderful time all by myself. I got very, very full, and that's the end of the story, and I almost wish I hadn't told it.
I'm glad you did.
Yes.